inspiring episode of the Walking in Aloha Let's Talk Story podcast, where we share transformational stories of faith, resilience, healing, creativity, leadership, travel, culture, and legacy. I'm your host, international award winning speaker, award winning author, certified facilitator, human rights consultant, creative coach. My name is Michelle Ebalaroza Kawano. And today I am honored to welcome Indrani Lewthwaite, a speaker, clinical supervisor, neuro-informed psychotherapist, relationship and family therapist, educator, and human behavior expert whose work brings together cutting-edge science and faith-based wisdom. I love that. So, I wanted to have this time, but with more than 10,000 hours of clinical experience, Indrani has supported individuals, couples, families, leaders, and workplace teams. Her professional journey grew from two deeply personal questions shaped by significant loss and adversity. Why do people do what they do? And why do people hurt the people they love? And why do they leave? That's a question that a lot of us ask. That research became a lifelong commitment to understanding human behavior, neuroscience, relationships, trauma, resilience, and personal growth. Today, Indrani helps people recognize the hidden patterns shaping behavior, communication, relationships, leadership, well being, and performance. Through powerful storytelling, practical strategies, and evidence informed insights, she inspires the mental shifts that leads to stronger relationships, greater resilience, psychological safety, purpose, and lasting transformation. Indrani is the founder of Wise with Gratitude, creator of the Mirror Steps model, and a finalist in the next Top Speaker International Top 100. Her signature keynotes include Rise with Gratitude, the hidden patterns behind human behavior, the neuroscience of human connection, and resilience in a changing world. Indrani, your work reminds us that transformation may begin not when our circumstances change, but when our focus changes. I am so grateful to welcome your wisdom, your faith, and your story to our community. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. How are
Thank you,
you?
Michelle. Thank you. I am so blessed to join you this morning, and thank you for such a generous introduction. Um, I'm thrilled, and the blessing to be here today, as you mentioned, the gratitude. I can simply say the gratitude changed my life, and it's brought me here. I'm
Thank
very
you, thank
grateful.
you. Well, if you're just joining us here for the first time, welcome. Guests have joined us from around the world, including Africa, Australia, where Indrani is, Norway, Singapore, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Spain, and here in Hawaii, where I am, and all over the United States. And every conversation is guided by one powerful word, and that word is aloha. For me, aloha is so much more than a greeting, it is a way of living. A, affirmations and actions, living intentionally while taking daily action towards God's purpose. L, leadership and love, leading ourselves so that we can serve others well. O, overcoming obstacles, finding strength through life's greatest challenges. And H, healing and health, caring for our whole selves mind, body, spirit, and relationships. And the last A is acute awareness, living with wisdom, gratitude, and discernment, and also faith. Indrani, before you became known as a neuro informed psychotherapist, clinical supervisor, educator, and speaker, your journey began with significant personal loss and adversity. And and two powerful questions. Please take us back to the season and share how those questions shaped your search for understanding and became the calling and the body of the work you lead today.
Thank you, Michelle. Whew, I I haven't always thought about the journey the way I have within last since I've actually joined the DPS International Speaker Tournament. I have never spoken about my story publicly, and for the first time, when I was asked to, what do you want to talk about, a topic, and I thought about it because it had to be related to your story. What is your story? My story is, I always say, how God found me and how I found His grace and mercy through enormous losses. So when I was 4, our father left us.
Mm.
And for 9 years, I thought he'll come back because my mom didn't talk about much. And so my little brain, wherever I went, I look around for my father. I thought he will get off that bus. He will be at the school gate to pick me up. He will one day come. It never happened. So when I was 13, I was able to see him, but not alive. And recognize him at a mortuary and say goodbye to him that day. I remember asking my mom, why did he leave? And all she can say was, the alcohol did it, or alcohol does it, something like that. And that answer wasn't good enough for me. And I was 13 at the time. And I remember very clearly asking, why do people love someone and then just leave? And why do they hurt them? Why do they fight? These
Mm.
questions just kind of stuck in my head. And then, of course, I got married eventually. And when my children faced what I faced, that question became even stronger and stronger. So I carried that with me all my life. And along the way, I had more losses. My mom was my rock. And I lost my mom. I lost my sister. She was 42 years of age.
Yeah.
Then I lost a nephew who was 25 years of age. And so all of these things kind of made me feel more and more and more focusing on what I lost. And when I end up in Brisbane, Australia with my 2 boys, we didn't know Brisbane at all. We only knew 4 people, and I'm grateful we knew them. It was my in-laws. And then I felt so much of a loss, and I almost forgotten that I had my beautiful boys with me. And one night when I was lying in bed and just, as I always did after my boys went to sleep, just asking why did all these things happen? Why did it happen to me? What did I do? And I was asking God, what is going on? What is next? And I remember I got on my knees crying out, and I looked across a little bedside table. I had this packet of scriptures that was given to me when I left Sri Lanka. And I took this 365 scriptures in a little packet, and I took one out. And it said, meditate on whatever is praiseworthy, whatever is good. And at that moment, to me, like, what is good? And it was just almost like, well, how can I be grateful for anything right now? At that moment, and almost like this light bulb moment, my 2 beautiful boys in the next room. And that day, something shifted within me. And at that moment, apart from asking why and why, when I able to shift that, I can't explain in words what happened. I begin to see something grateful in everything that I've lost. You know, our father, mother, they brought us to this world. He was my father anyway. And when he left, I
Mhm.
had a mother who fiercely loved me. And I got to be her daughter. You know, my sister, my nephew, that was their journey. And they got to be in my life. And I held on to things that was good. And so from that moment, asking why did it happen to me? And I almost felt like, why not me? Why should it happen to somebody else? And what would be the difference? So from that moment, I began to see so many things that was possible. And it took me to university, and I got remarried, a beautiful blended family. And I still had this answer in my head. So my study became in the area of counseling, relationships, psychology, knowing people's brain, whatever that I could learn about human behavior. And
Mm.
yeah, that was my story.
Oh, that's so good. You know, it sounds there is a lot of hurt and hard times that you went through, and I can see why those questions came about. You know, I read a book a while back when I was going through a lot of things, um, and it was, why does bad things happen to good people? You know, and that was one of my questions
Yeah.
too. Is that why do bad things happen to good people? But we are here now, and the thing is that our life story can now help someone else. And so that is
Exactly.
the thing that I
Exactly.
look at all the time, is that God can take whatever it is that the enemy meant for evil and turn it to good. So
Mhm.
thank you
Absolutely.
for sharing. Thank you for sharing. So as I mentioned, aloha, that is the one thing that ties all of my guests together, the Aloha Always framework. And I share that with people now all over the world. And I love to see how people walk in aloha in their own ways, like around the globe, not just here in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So the first A is affirmations and actions. Your keynote, Rise with Gratitude, explores how changing our focus can change our lives. How has gratitude helped you move from adversity into a purposeful action? And what is one practice listeners can begin today?
So gratitude doesn't deny pain. It
Mm,
doesn't
yeah.
justify wrong. It doesn't even, you know, help you forget or take away pain. What it does, it become the compass that direct our attention. That's how I felt, because
Mhm.
my attention was, if I'm alone, if I'm going for a walk, if my kids are not there, if I'm going to sleep, my brain will almost activate that loss, because we want to know why things happen. We're curious. So when I became so problem focused, I couldn't see resources. I couldn't see opportunities. I couldn't see potential. I felt so lost and powerless. But when I became so grateful for whatever was lost, whatever was left, it is so profound and it's so powerful. It's just that a scripture came to life in me, and science show that gratitude shift our brain. It increases our ability to focus attention and our ability to function again. So that was what was happening. So for me, whenever something happened, I was able to teach this to my children. We were
Yeah.
able to say, well, what can we, what is left? What can we do? For example, I clearly remember my children. We were at a supermarket in Brisbane here, and there's everybody might know, maybe there as well. There's ice cream place called Wendy's, and I said to my boys, that's not within our budget. So instead, we were so grateful. We had some money to buy different types of ice cream and go home and make something very similar. So
Yeah.
it's almost like kind of rather than noticing, well, we can't even afford to have an ice cream, we were able to decide what can we do in that place. And so gratitude is about it's allowing your capacity, your gift that within inside of you that always in there is almost like you activate what is possible by recognizing what is there. And because our brain is designed so amazingly to look for whatever we focus on. Whatever we
That's true.
focus on and whatever we repeat, your brain will look for. Imagine so if we focus on, like I did, what was lost, all I can see is more loss and more loss, and the fear of
Hmm.
further loss. But then when I notice what is left, what is possible, your brain will look for more resources.
Yeah.
And so, what is one thing that people can do is that not necessarily, I know it's nice to think of three things you're grateful for. It's a beautiful practice and that sort of thing. But what I am really talking about is looking for something that you can be grateful in the circumstances that are not so good.
Yeah.
Even people who hurt you, even the people who terribly hurt me, there was something good at the beginning. There was something there, and I can't deny there wasn't. And so when I shift my
Yeah.
focus, I don't justify what happened. I stop the adversity from taking control over me. So if you can notice anything that happened to you today, and and ask, okay, what is one good thing in that situation? It might even be I got out of there alive. I met somebody that I
Hmm.
became friends with. Whatever it is, and your brain will look for more. And what you do is then you take control over what happened rather than the circumstances controlling you.
That is so good. That is so good. You know, you mentioned about focusing on things, and that's what you notice, that's what you see. So if you focused on loss, you would see and you would fear more loss. And that
Mm,
is just so key to say, because I think a lot of people forget that. What
mm,
they focus on is what's going to be highlighted. You know, it's like when they say, you know, I want to buy this red car, and then now you see like there's so many red cars on the road. You know, it's like that. It's seeing those things and focusing on those things. And so if you focus on good, there will be more good. If you focus on hope, there will be more hope. You know, and I totally understand, because when I came from the domestic violence, I was fearful of
mm,
everything. And the more I focused on fear, the more that I was afraid of things and doing things. So I knew I had to let that go in order to move forward. So
mm,
that is so key and so important. Thank you for sharing that. You know, many people understand what needs to change, but still feel unable to act on it. From a neuroscience and behavior perspective, what helps a person move from intention to consistent life giving action?
very good question, Michelle. So, understanding is a good thing that we need to change or what is important, but understanding alone doesn't create change. It rarely creates change. And people often have lots of information. I mean, look around, and if we have so much information today, and there's no shortage of that, but people are still struggle in the same problems. Nothing changes. So
Yes.
our brain is designed to conserve energy and to repeat what is familiar. So even though I understand what need to be done, often people say, "Oh, New Year's resolutions," right? People have every intention to do these things and plans and the desire, but for some reason they fall back into whatever was familiar. Your brain like to
Yeah.
repeat what's familiar, repeat what you have been giving attention to. It's same as what we discussed before. So if something that is underneath that is taking your attention or have taken for so long, uh, your brain will fall back onto that. And when we tie the need to change or behavior or a goal, if you tie that goal into our identity, something changes there. That is something that I've experienced myself, and also I've seen in hundreds of my clients as well. And because so many things can change, and but internally, until we change what's happening inside, the external things have impact on us temporarily, but not for so long. So if you have a learned behaviors, beliefs, and patterns that we carry with us, we fall back onto that. For example, if someone has a strong belief, um, let me use myself as an example. I have asked my clients and my lecturers and people to do podcasts and go online and do videos. I did not do that for 10 years because I always had this sense of, I don't know, it was like a fear of judgment and because of my past. And I am teaching this to people, but I had not paid attention to the fact that I was so self conscious. And so that was a topic. I had all the knowledge, I had the desire and the passion to teach and give people what I was learning, but I wasn't not able to. I will create videos and I will delete them. So it's recognizing what is it that deep inside that I've been telling myself and asking, is this really what driving my desire to change? And also recognizing that our brain will function in what automation than consciously because it's easy, it's energy saves, it's faster. And so the idea is to become highly conscious of what it is that you want to do and ask, who do I want to be? Why do I want to be that person? And then if you're doing something other than what you desire to do, ask, does this align with who I want to be?
Yeah.
And secondly, the bridge between the intention and action is not this enormous step, it's the micro moments. I say that the goals that you set make it so small, almost impossible to fail. And then when you achieve that, your brain goes, oh, we can do more. Remember what we repeat, your brain will make it stronger. So that's a
So
good way
good.
of, and consistency, of course. And consistency is so important.
Yeah, that is so good because it's like our brain always wants to go back to what is familiar, what is safe, and even if it doesn't serve us anymore, it still wants to go back to that. And so, like you said, doing those little things that is almost impossible to fail, but with consistency, you keep doing it, it becomes more and more. And that
Absolutely.
is that pattern breaking, right? You're breaking that pattern of wanting to go back to what is safe and what is comfortable because that's not serving you anymore. The change is what's going to serve you, and you need to move forward in order to change. So that is so good. I was like 225 pounds, 250 pounds at one point, and I was telling my doctor that it's impossible. I literally told him, he told me that I needed to lose 20 pounds. And I said, it's impossible. I can't lose 20 pounds because I had so much problems with my leg. I couldn't even walk without, having some kind of aid, crutches,
Mhm.
cane, whatever. I couldn't. So I thought my brain went to the fact of, I can't be in a gym like this. No, I can't lose weight. But then I had to come to the realization that, wait a moment, no one's force feeding me. So
Mm.
if I changed one thing, it could possibly change other things. But if I went to, oh my gosh, I'm going to just eat salads all the time and then I hate salads now, I don't want to eat it anymore, then you're going to drop out and your brain is going to go back to what is safe because it's such an uncomfortable thing. But if you do the small little changes, then you can It it helped me to become better at reading labels, better at the food choices I was making, and I lost 30 pounds before even going into the gym. So it's
Mm.
those small little micro steps, like you mentioned, that makes bigger changes. So yeah, so good. Thank you for sharing that. L is the second letter in Aloha, leadership and love. Your work helps leaders and workplace teams understand the hidden patterns influencing communication, trust, and performance. What does emotional safe, compassionate leadership look like in everyday practice?
So when we're talking about emotionally safe leaders, we can actually see organizational leaders. It can be parenting. It can be, someone who's leading a group, and it could be anyone who's leading,
Mhm.
supporting people. And emotional safety, leaders who are compassionate, they don't avoid accountability or making everyone feel comfortable all the time. It, the role is to create a space safe enough so that people can speak, ask for help, acknowledge uh, mistakes, be themselves, and not feel criticized, humiliated, labeled, but heard.
Yeah.
And being able to do that with boundaries, then that makes you an effective, compassionate leader.
Yeah, that is so good because I've been a lead in schools, and you know I've seen where people take that and they use it as like a power up for themselves. And it's so wrong because you're like, no, the reason why you're put into this position
Mm.
isn't so that you can have some kind of a standard for yourself, or just another nameplate, right?
Mhm.
You are doing it, you're in that position so that you can actually help someone else out.
Absolutely.
And
And
yeah.
sorry. And the compassionate leader recognize that
Mm-hmm.
behind every behavior or a mistake and withdrawal from something or missed deadline, there's a reason. And so if we're not willing to find out what it is and we correct without even recognizing what it is, we're missing something. And
Mm-hmm.
so, in organizational level, when I work with the team leaders and managers, one of the things that we recognize is that quite often they'll find something that is need to be corrected. And when we try to give them correction, punishment, or the whatever that is that solving the problem, we forget the person that is
Mm-hmm.
doing the behavior. And so, if we can focus on the person as well as the task, we can have a balanced outcome. And the compassionate, once again, it doesn't mean that you're feeling sorry for the person or pity. It's about recognizing that um, gratitude come into play here too. What
Yeah.
are some things we can be grateful for that person has actually done? What are some things that we can recognize that let that person feel, maybe I didn't manage to do this, but that we can build on what they are good at so they have
Mm-hmm.
more competency and confidence now to go and do the things that they were unable to do.
Yeah, that is so good. That is so good. I actually did an interview, and one of my guests coming up to this question, because like I said, I use the Aloha framework with everyone. He's like, but I don't love the people that work for me, and I actually we talked about it, and a lot of times people have that in their mind where it's like a romantic kind of love or whatever, but no, it's compassion, it's empathy, it's seeing the person as a human being, as a human rights consultant now. you look at the whole person. You don't look at like what can they do for me, or what can, those kind of things. You have to see a person for who they are.
Mm.
And a lot of times, like you said, if there's something, if they miss something, or they, what if something is going on at home? What if it's just something else that is interfering? And if you just took care of that, or looked at that and knew, let them know that, you know what, I see you and I care, they would feel so much better at completing their job and working with you, because they know that they're not just a paycheck, or they're not looking at you as a employer or something, as this is just another paycheck, who cares, right? They are looking at it like they care about me, they care
Mm.
about what I'm doing.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
that is so good to say. Thank you for sharing that. You work extensively with couples, families, and relationships. How can love remain present during conflict while people also establish healthy boundaries, take responsibility, and communicate truthfully?
Ooh, like somebody else said, it's a loaded question. So many different layers. This is so important. This is so important. This is an area that I'm very passionate, and the bulk of my work is in this area. Of once again, when we talk about love, it's not just for couples, and it is that compassion that we know that there are different types of love, right? And so it's the thing is that scientists are still doing lots of researches on love, and we're trying to understand what love is. And I think, uh, as we know, love is universal, but how it's perceived, experienced, and delivered is different for each person and each culture, etc. One of the things that I often hear when people, or I also thought a long time ago, is that if you love someone, if two people love each other, so they should understand each other. They should just do the same things, and shouldn't be any problems. I mean, if you love somebody, why can't you just, kiss and make up?
Yeah.
And also, people sometimes say, we've fallen out of love. We just, don't have it anymore. But what we really doing is we're misunderstanding what love is, because we can love somebody and still not understand them. So the conflicts and the distance create because of lack of understanding. We desire to understand people, but we do that through the lens of who we are and what we know, what we experience, what I want, what I desire, how I see the world. So everything is in my personalized lens. And so my understanding of that person is based on who I am. And that is also automatic. I don't blame any for doing that. We all do it. And I think when we recognize this, when we say that, this person doesn't agree with me, they don't see what I need, they don't care about what I think about, they don't want to go on the same holidays as me, they obviously don't care. They don't love me anymore. Right? It's the love remain when we're able to understand we love each other, but we're different. And I accept that difference. However, because we care about each other, because we accept that differences, and then people gain the ability to make small compromises, not full sacrifices, letting go of yourself. It's about saying, I can love you fully without losing myself.
Yes.
And I can listen to you without need to be right all the time. I hope my husband's not watching this.
I was going to say the same thing.
Anyway, But it is the fact that being able to recognize that we are different. Now, so many relationships struggle because this difference become seen, it is being seen as the problem. It can be actually beautiful when we recognize that difference and say, when we fall in love with somebody in the first stage of love, seems like we love everything the same. We do anything you want because we are running and we're overwhelmed by all this dopamine, and our logical brain is not doing much of thinking at that moment. But when we come to it, suddenly our brain can't sustain that amount of dopamine for so long. So it kind of settled down and started second stage of our relationships. And we just think, what happened? The love is gone. Sometimes feels like that. But it's not, the love is gone. We're next stage of getting to know each other. Your brain now wants different, something different. So in order to remain love, if you're at conflict resolution state and if you've got problems, is to, like John Gottman beautifully have said, remove the things that criticism, judgment, sarcasm, name calling, labeling. If we can remove these things, not that love is gone and then found, you can bring the love to surface. And when you do these kind of things, a person's soul, their spirit is in a wounded spirit or hurt, you can't show love. You can't, it's there, but it's not functional. It's like you're walking into a room that is fully wired for lights and you look around everywhere, you're in the darkness. The power is there, but it's switched off.
Yeah.
So we can remove these kind of, when we have a problem, those things that I just labeled, we can switch love back on. It's not gone.
It's just covered with all the other stuff.
So understanding the
Yeah.
difference, this is so
Yeah.
important. Understanding the difference of each other and
Hmm.
then want to know more about them, that will strengthen your relationship. You're so different in this area. Help me understand more why that is. Help me understand where they come from. This ability to uh, understand the difference, psychology call it a differentiation. It means that I can uh, listen to you and without immediately becoming defensive.
Yeah.
And I can care about you and without letting go of myself completely.
Yeah. So good. So good. You know, when you look at that, and people need to almost realize that everyone loves in a different way. And so after all of the, I call
Mm,
it the honeymoon period, when things look so good and, things start to settle down, and when you start feeling that, oh, they don't love me, look at the things that, how they love, not just what you expect, but how does the other person
mm,
show love,
mm.
and that's one thing that I learned
Yes.
through through my life, and with my husband now. you know his culture is not big on the I love yous or hugs or,
Mhm, mhm,
the showing kind of, that kind of thing. But it's what they do. So it's like when I recognize that with his parents and how he is, because that's what you learn. You see it,
mhm,
you watch it, you pick it up. That's how you learn. And so I realized, like, he shows love in a different way. And so you can't always expect to be showed the love that your mind is seeing. Like, I want to see love like this, you know,
yeah, mm, absolutely,
because you may be disappointed, But
yes,
once you start learning the person that you're with, and you're like, so much better. And that's how our relationship is. And I can compare it with, because I've been divorced before, and how it was before. And I'm like, that was a thing, is that the expectation
mhm,
of how a person loves, right? Oh, I expected them to do this. Well, what if they just don't love that way? What if they've never learned to show it that way? So yeah, looking at it in that different lens. So so good.
and and the conflict, a lot of the time small conflicts can be so destructive to relationship.
Yeah.
When people see those differences mean disconnection, they don't care, they given up, and so the person try to explain it, so then they
Hmm.
become defensive because they feel like you're asking me to change who I am.
Yeah.
So we can ask with love to change some things or why we do things without changing the person themselves. And
Yeah.
that ability to say, look, I noticed that, you know, you don't say I love you very much. I love it when you do say it. I like to
Hmm.
hear more of that. And rather than you never say you love me.
Yeah. Yeah. That is true. You know, my husband now, um, we've learned that those small little conflicts, those little things, sometimes it's not worth making a, what is it? How do you say it? Making
More
a
hill.
mountain from a molehill. Yes. Yeah. So things like that, to nip it in the bud and be like, oh, you know, let's talk about this in a moment. Let me get some airtime, or like just
Okay.
relax or something, but not just jump in it right away. So we've learned that that is something that we've discovered about each other, and being like, oh, you know what, that needs to stop. And as I've gotten older, as I've gotten older, those things are like a lot more easily settled than when I was younger, and I felt like I needed to have my say and like fight it out or something. I don't know why, but it's totally different now. So the O in Aloha is overcoming obstacles. Significant loss and adversity help shape your calling. What did those experiences teach you about resilience, and what do people often misunderstand what it truly means to overcome?
Ooh, um, this is another good question. Resilience is not absence of pain.
Hmm.
For me, it's refusing to let the pain have the authority over
Good.
how you move forward. Because that's what I was doing for a while there. I was thinking about the loss. I was thinking about the pain. More I thought about it. Remember the brain, more you think about that, the brain will strengthen the feelings and so you can avoid it. But we're not avoiding it, we get buried in it. And, the scripture says be transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's that renewing, being able to know what happened. But then, secondly, if I'm here to tell you about what happened to me, something somehow within me, that we are so blessed with that ability to recover. We know that healing, I'm always fascinated by how our body heals. I cut my finger, it was like a half slice, and it kind of, I had a stitches, and now it's just fully, healed. And it's just like that. You cannot see healing happen. It doesn't go. Shoo. I mean, sometimes there are miraculous healing happen, which I have actually witnessed. I must mention that, but it's not common. General healing is a journey. So when we are able to tell somebody this happened to me, that's a step of healing because you're here now. Being able to get up in the morning, if you weren't up before, you're healing. Every little step that you take after the adversity, after the circumstance, is healing if you are going away from the circumstance, not into it. If you bury yourself in that, why he did that, why she
Yes.
did that, I can't believe it, it's not fair, why should I forgive, I have a right to be angry, all of those things are like clips, pegs keep you in there. keep you in a place of loss, a place of despair, destroys your hope. And this is where the
Mm.
gratitude, using it as a compass. Now, reason I'm saying, if I would say to you, just change your attention and focus, it's not easy. But when we pick something we can be grateful for, something that we know it can work, now you are actually giving your focus and attention like kind of a push towards the right direction. And also recognizing, for me, everything that happened to me at the time, of course, I mean, I remember particularly as a teenager, I think I was so sad. I was so, um, yeah, I was embarrassed at what happened. You know, everybody had a dad, and I actually used to lie at school and say, "Oh, yeah, my dad's coming."
Mm.
You know, and so I would pretend. So the circumstances can then have that was a shame. I'm ashamed that it happened to me, or it shouldn't happen to me, etc. And so recognizing at any given point of time, am I walking away from it, or am I going back towards it all the time? We can do that mentally. It's based on our self-talk, little actions that we take, and also the emotions and the residue we carry with us, the anger, the resentment, the all of those things they give you this temporary control. It's a fake control. It's a lie.
Mm.
And so that can keep you in there. And so it doesn't serve you. And
Yeah.
so for me, things that happened didn't make me somebody better, didn't make me different version of myself, all those things. It helped me to grow into the person that I always was and was meant to be. And also, honestly, I look at myself and I think, if I didn't experience all those things, will I be who I am today? Will I love the people the way I do today? I don't know. I don't think so. And also,
Yeah.
if I didn't have the grace of God upon me, if I didn't have the faith to say that this is possible, I am not alone, I don't know, I might have been in mental health asylum or somewhere, because of the amount of losses that happen, the loneliness, the rejection, the abandonment, all the things that we see that will destroy your mental health. Pain was
Hmm.
there, but I was saved from all of that. I truly believe that it wasn't I was such an amazing person. I was gifted. It's like a gratitude was my gift through God's love for me. And so science shows that isolation and loneliness can destroy our health and our ability to become resilient, and it narrow, it impairs certain functions within us. But the fact that I kept saying, I'm not alone in this, God is with me, and that sense of connection. So connect to someone, find a connection. There's someone you can connect to, one person you can connect to that you can trust, and cherish that connection. So it's your focus, attention, connection. These are keys, these are pillars. And focus and attention is more valuable than money, and limited than money. You cannot make more attention and focus. The brain has so much of it. You can't borrow it.
Yeah.
So use your focus and attention for the things that matter the most, things that uplift you, things that allow somebody else feel better because you did something. And so yeah, I think I'm kind of going all over the place
Yeah.
right now.
So so good, so good. You talked about the loneliness and coming in and knowing that you were not alone because you knew that God was with you, and finding that person that could actually be there for you. My pastor once gave this analogy of the coals in a fire, and if you took one of the coals and you remove them and it sat there, sooner or later it's going to start to cool and it's going to die down and it's going to burn
Mm-hmm.
out. But if you bring it back in to
Mm-hmm.
the with the rest of the coals, it's like bringing a person back into community, bringing them back into the church, being, somewhere where they know that they're safe, they're seen, they're loved. That coal that was once dying out and almost, burnt down would start to
Mm,
glow again.
mm,
And I always look at that in life because I know what it was like to feel alone. I know what
mm,
it was like to feel like nobody heard me or saw me or cared enough. But to go out, when I was in the relationship, I was told that nobody would want to hear me. Nobody wants to hear what you want to say. Those kind of things. That was the control that he wanted
mm,
to put into my mind. And it was constant enough that I did feel like that. Or once I talked to someone and I felt like a little bit ignored, I'd be like, he's right, And so it was in my brain.
mm.
But then once I was out and once I realized, no, there are people that care, there are people that are listening, all of that was a lie. And so, as a neurologist, like, or the synapses in the brain can reconnect and do those things and the pruning, and so you can prune out those bad things and you can focus and connect those parts of your brain that needs to be connected to the trust, to the love, to the, all of those things that you thought maybe was lost, but it truly isn't. It's still there and it takes time, but you can break that cycle. And so you often talk about the hidden patterns behind behavior. What happens beneath the surface when our hidden biology and automatic patterns, when we react in ways that we later regret? I mean, we've all done that. And how can the mirror steps model help us notice that and interrupt that cycle?
Okay, so it is so important to us to consider this question, Michelle, because we
Mm-hmm.
often, particularly in when it comes to emotional, psychological, relational aspects, we forget that biology plays a significant role. We live in
Yeah.
this machine, we live in this body that every part of our body, how it works, have an impact on how we connect, how we respond, how we perceive situations, and how we choose and make decisions. So
Yeah.
when we react, so your question was when we react, it is not intentional. Number one, so important to understand someone's reaction in a particularly heated argument or a if it's a reaction, simply, let's say, it's not conscious, it's automatic. If it's a response, that is well thought of. Because to respond to somebody thoughtfully and constructively requires you to come back to your cortical region of the brain and use your attention, use your intention, meaning, etc. But the reaction is automatic and it happens in more of your emotional part of the brain. So that
Mhm.
reaction happens in, if I can get this right, I think about, it's like a I might get it wrong. It was like a fraction of almost like I think 1300 millisecond or something like that. That's
Wow.
fast. So if you're saying something, I have already um, processed it. I have already interpreted. And if it's visual, if I'm looking at your body language and your posture, etc., I process that. I not process. I interpret that even faster. So my reaction to what you're saying, like a boom, and then I go, oh, why did I say that? Now that because your emotions, science also says your emotions rise, and and it lasts maybe 90 seconds, and kind of it's like this wave rise and come down. So this is why that often people react so badly and then walk away and say, I didn't mean to, and the person says, of course you did, right? So the thing is, why is it those? reactions in such a way. So again, we have these hidden patterns, beliefs, feelings, things that I think is true. So if I
Mhm.
think that if you really care about me, you will always return my calls. If you really care about what matters to me, you will always put the dishes away because I ask you to, right? Etc. So that's my belief. So I have that belief so that when you don't do that, mind, I believe, see, I was right. So then what happened is because of my reaction, that person increased their behavior. Now I think I'm right. They really don't care. So it become a self-fulfilling prophecy. But underneath there is none of the dishes, not the phone call. It's about people don't care about me. People don't take me
Yeah.
seriously. If that was my underlying belief, my brain, remember that repetition? And brain will scan for what we repeat. Therefore, whatever I believe deep inside, my brain will scan for more of that. Just like what you said earlier. When we bought Toyota Tarago, hadn't even seen that car before. But once we had the car, we see it everywhere because my brain connects the association to what I know and have, right? Familiarity. So brain like familiarity. So if someone's reacting really badly, like you said earlier, that pause is so important. Try not to resolve conflict or to find answer and ask for answer, follow them for answers when someone is activated in such way.
Yeah.
Give them time to come back to their thinking brain, if you like,
Their thinking brain.
so that we can kind of access it. It's like you're driving on a freeway doing 120 k's an hour. Somebody says pull over. You can't, right? Without a collision.
Yeah.
So put the brakes on first. Makes your brain come to 60 k's an hour. Now you can pull over safely and get out and have the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
good. Ah, that is so good. H is health and healing. And you bring together neuroscience, trauma informed practice, relationships, and faith based wisdom. How do these elements work together to support healing of a person, a whole person, rather than only treating visible symptoms?
so when we are working with a person, like I said earlier, like we're like a machine. We have so different parts working together to keep us alive. Like if your kidney's not working, we're not going to say, oh, well, just a kidney, don't worry about it. You got the liver, you got this and that. Forget about the kidney. We need everything working together. Our brain is constantly talking to different parts of our brain and vice versa. So when we have a issue of a psychological problem, how we sleep, how we eat, and our posture even has an impact. It impacts our brain, therefore it's impact how we think, it's impact how we perceive and process and respond to the person, or how I feel about myself. If I'm physically unwell, if I have a chronic pain, this now a brain, because remember brain has a limited amount of attention. If our attention is taken by pain, I don't have enough attention to pay to you, and I can be tense and reactive
Mm.
or sensitive. And if I and now my faith, the faith is an amazing thing. It's not a wishy-washy faith. It's just kind of it's about, it's like an anchor that I truly believe that I can get through this, or hope anchors us, and hope gives us resilience. So the science now show that faith and hope in a person, it allows them to reduce the stress responses. It neurochemically, your brain does this. Uh, it's almost like it's become flexible, and so that you can actually calm yourself. You can do the things you cannot do when you have a faith and hope. And it allows you to reduce the adrenaline and the cortisol that's running through your body. And so you can think, you cannot, what do I want to say is fear, you reduce fear. The fear can destroy our ability to see the current reality. The anxiety can take you away from the current reality. So when you look at science, psychology, help us to know why it's happening in the brain or why we're acting this way, so we can depersonalize someone's behavior. And relationships. Why is the relationships important when it comes to health, wealth, and everything? Now, 80-year longitudinal study done by Harvard found that the number one predictor of health and success and happier life is a health of our close relationships. It changes your biology. It changes your stress response. It changes you inside out. Because we are created and designed to connect. The connection is so important. Number one, so investing in that. So when we put all of these things together, we work, we look after mind, we look after our health biologically, we look after our attention, our cognitive, our thinking capacity, our way of thinking, the way we see the world, way we see ourselves. In doing so, we enhance three things: our relationship with ourselves and God, our relationship with each other, and our relationship with the world. So if one of those things kind of lopsided, it's impact the other. So it's kind of reminded me of those, what are those things that you stack I've forgotten the word, and you push one and everyone,
Those
what's that called?
dominoes.
Dominoes, dominoes.
Dominoes. Yes.
And so it's like the domino effect. So this is
Yeah.
the one of the reasons, even a coaching therapy, sometimes if we only work in one side, and if I'm working on someone in a relationship aspect, I cover all these things. We call it a biopsychosocial model. We think about the biology, psychology, the spirituality, if this it's applied to the person. Of course, we don't force that on person.
Mm.
And then the relational part, because a connection literally is what keep us alive. And you may have heard of
So good.
broken heart syndrome. Years ago, scientists found broken heart syndrome does exist.
Yes, I
So
totally agree with that.
absolutely. It doesn't mean we can have these full blown meaningful relationships wherever we go, but connecting to someone also then activated within us. I'm worth of that person's time. So you do actually have a self compassion when you're connecting with somebody and the compassion to that person. So I think I'm going to stop there. I can talk all day.
Yeah. So good. So good. I know we can talk so long about things because it's so important. It is just so important. What does genuine healing look like when someone's circumstances have not changed? And how can faith, professional support, and practical daily choices work together without minimizing pain?
Okay, I think we kind of touched on that a little bit before. Is this, genuine healing does not always begin when circumstances are changed and all fixed. It can be circumstances that is still not so good. Like mine wasn't, I was a still, um, a mum with the two boys and, three suitcases in Brisbane with no place to call home. And I did not have my parents, and I had lost just about everything. A business that I worked very, very hard for 12 years, and
Mm.
so I was financially okay, and now I'm financially, you know, absolutely in a really bad place. So my circumstances wasn't so good, but the healing began the moment I saw possibility of going forward. So really, to me, the first step of healing is faith. your ability to believe. The question is, remain, what would you believe in,
Exactly.
right?
That is so
So,
good.
so that then that allows the moment you believe this is not just my opinion is science. You believe in something that you know now, the brain will pursue that. It will look for more things. So when I said, boys, we're gonna have to find a home to live in. And so now we're looking for home and we're looking for how we can do this. And next thing we're gonna get you to school. And so whatever it is that we're gonna do from now on, you know, we did. And I hadn't even finished year 12. But when I believed, someone told me years ago, I was very, very unwell and she was praying for me and she sent me this message. I don't remember the whole thing. She said to me, you're not done yet. She said, there's so much to be done.
Yeah.
God's going to give you
Yeah.
words to say. Because at the time I could barely talk. And so, at the time I feel like I was going to die. I was extremely unwell. There was no diagnosis of anything. All what happened was my whole nervous system was almost collapsing, not psychologically but physically. But at that moment, someone gave me faith to keep going and believing that no, I am not gonna be sick. I'm not gonna die because my head was saying, oh, why not? I really thought I was gonna die. But at that moment, the healing was taking place because I was able to see what is possible. Because if I can't see what is possible, I'm never going to pursue it. And so the
So good.
second thing is think about how your body heal, wound heal, the fracture heal. There are stages of healing. So recognize those stages of you're doing something new. It's difficult, it's hard, broken leg, you're not walking properly, you're limping, it hurts but if first you can just limp with the crutches. Then you take the crutches off. You see healing increases. You still can't walk properly, but you are healing. So you're constantly healing. And for some of us, the healing is longer, and some of us is faster.
Hmm.
But it's really, I believe, depending on our self-talk, where we put our faith, and how we connect to other people. If anything that you don't take away from this talk, I really, really encourage everyone to the connection is so important. Connect with people that uplift you, support you, but also connect with people that you can support. Connect with people that are less than you. Reach out, and healing comes when you can see to heal and support others. This is so powerful. I'm a living example of that, and um, I truly believe that when I was going through significant pain and I'm gonna actually. I wasn't gonna share this. I like to share this actually very quickly because we're talking about healing. I was coming home after my mom's funeral on my own. I was on the flight. I wonder if this girl would see this. Um, this person was going to Singapore, and we were in the Singapore airline. And I saw she wasn't eating her food, and she had tears in her eyes. And I reached out and said, "You okay?" She said, I'm sad because last time when I ate, my mom fed me. I'm leaving home for the first time to get a job, and the civil war in Sri Lanka, but at the time they lost all their business, etc. She was very sad at leaving her mom, and she said to me, how about you? And I didn't want to say to her, well, I just going home from my mother's funeral. And I said to her,
Mm.
I just left my mom too. And so,
Yeah.
and I was able to kind of talk with her, and after a little while, and she saw my Bible. I had it with me, and we talked about that. And I told her. She said to me, you seem fine, good," she said. And I was so broken, numb, and I was just falling apart inside. But I just felt at that moment as I was talking to her, and I just felt this peace, and I feel like, wow, the first time after my mom passed away, talking to this young woman, I found peace inside of me. My brain shifted later.
Yeah.
When I was learning neuroscience, I saw what happened that day, scientifically speaking. And so I would say, reach out to somebody that struggling
Mhm.
than you. At a moment, you don't have to say, look, I don't have much to give and I don't have anything to give. Doesn't matter. Give your time. Give a
Yeah.
beautiful statement, do something for somebody. And that, for the genuine healing, once again, is also being able to see someone else's pain and find a capacity within you to support them. That's healing. And
Yes.
yeah, that will increase your healing.
That is so good. You mentioned faith, hope, and possibility, and that connection you saw when you were helping her, how you're like, I understand where the healing comes from. And I had a miscarriage, and what healed me the most from that pain of losing my child, at first I was so upset because I'm like, how can I be losing a baby when I have four healthy children, like that, and I couldn't understand. And so it really hurt. But the healing took place when I started foster care and I served children that,
Mm,
didn't have a home, and I did from infant to 12. So when you have to go into the NICU and you have to go and get the baby straight out of the hospital, that was healing to me. And then I actually worked at a um, crisis pregnancy center, knowing that I lost a baby, helping these girls who question the fact that, am I going to keep this baby? And helping them to see that there is a life growing inside of you, and
mm,
helping them to see that there's possibility that they can still have the baby, and there's people that's going to rally around them and help
mhm,
them. So
mhm,
yeah, getting that, the hope, the possibility and faith and community, those are so important in healing. So yeah, completely understand that. I've lived it myself. So good. Your quote says, "The day your life changes may not be the day your circumstances change. It may be the day your focus changes." I love that. How can we become aware of those, where our focus is leading? I know we spoke about that, but tell us more about that, and redirect it, like in the wisdom, gratitude, discernment, and faith.
Um, one of the way of becoming aware of where our focus is, whether it's going direction we want to go or not, is
Hmm.
to take a moment and ask, what am I thinking at any given point of time? What am I saying to myself? What do I hear me say when I talk to other people? And sometimes you say to somebody, "How are you?" The first thing they say is, "Oh, it's not a miserable day. There's no sun." They immediately go to what it is not. And I have a lady that I met, a beautiful lady, and she greets you shalom, and you say, "How are you?" She says, "Blessed." It's not kind of this fake, positivity or it's not, but it's you're constantly noticing. So, you know, stop and ask yourself, where is my focus at any given point of time? And secondly, look at some of your actions, your interactions, and is there a theme? Do you see a theme? Things that you do. For example, um, I work with people. Sometimes they might say, when we talk, often you feel like the focus is about having financial stability. Anything and everything they do is a financial stability. So it's really driven by that. That might look like having your children in daycare longer and longer, cutting down holidays, or it's working 24/7, and just really, it's so many decisions being made around that. The focus is financial stability. Now, that sometimes happen because, like we said earlier, the underlying driving force is perhaps they grew up in a way that financial stability was super important. It is for all of us, right? But because of the financial stability wasn't there, there was so much pain or fear, so people can be over driven by that, and they miss all the beautiful things in life.
Yeah.
So it's just everyday decisions you make. Check your decisions you're making, your interactions with people that you love, and just ask yourself, why did I say that? Where did that come from? What was I looking for? And you will start to see this theme, and now ask, does this align with who I want to be? Does it align with how I want to be known?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. So good. I love that you speak about alignment. Right now, who is your work best suited for? You have the mirror steps model, and just tell us who is best suited for you right now.
Well, currently, my current work, I am working with couples and families predominantly. But when I work with them, though, I do work with not just the relationship, it's addiction, uh, anger management, we do anxiety, depression. So we really, anyone who that really has a desire to improve their relationship or maintain their relationship health, and whether it's family, intimate relationships, or leadership work. And I work with leaders at the moment, and leaders and employees in that capacity. So really, anyone who desire in that way to improve relationships and have a healthy mental well-being, those are the areas that I'm working currently. Specifically speaking, I would say those who are struggling in relationships and would like to improve them, whether it's personal or professional. And I work in that space specifically. And also, I do take a trauma informed lens and trauma informed practice. So, if you're someone that actually have a trauma background, now having said that, most of us have some kind of a traumatic experience. Trauma is not about having something drastic, something like earthquake or someone died, or it doesn't have to be that. It is something that
Mm.
happened to that went beyond our coping capacity and have left a emotional scar, and it has an impact on us. It could be someone at our best friend suddenly decided, I don't want to talk to you. And it's not what happened, it's the impact that it had on you and your response to that. And so um, I hope that's kind of explained.
Yeah, that's so good. So, can you share the best way for our listeners, leaders, event organizers? How can they connect with you, explore your work, or invite you to speak on their platforms?
You can contact me on my website, which is eflcounselingandcoaching.com.au. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and also in LinkedIn.
Okay, beautiful. I will put that in the notes at the end of the broadcast. That's great. Thank you. When people look back on your life and work many years from now, what do you hope they remember about you and the legacy that you created?
Um, I I think I would like people to feel, because something that I was never good at. One of my children taught me this, and I was not very good at listening. So
Mm,
I am I love listening to people, and I'm willing to understand who they are and where they're coming from. That is so important to me. And I also know this has changed so many things. So I would like people to remember that woman who had all the time in the world to listen to me, listen to, because I think it's so important that people need to be heard and understood. And I think the legacy that I would like people to remember is that there is nothing more valuable, important in this world than human connection. So invest in the healthy connections that you make, and that is the your return of best return of investment in the businesses, in your health, your wealth, your success. You can invest in everything in life. I want people to know that the best investment is the investment you make in your relationships.
So beautiful. I love that. Indrani, thank you so much for sharing all of this, your journey, your wisdom, and your heart behind your work. Your story reminds us that the patterns shaping our lives can be understood, that adversity does not have the final word, and that a change in focus can become the beginning of lasting transformation. I completely appreciate the way that you bring together faith, science, gratitude, compassion, and practical strategies to help individuals, families, and leaders, teams build that stronger relationships, greater resilience, psychological safety, well being, and purpose. Before we close, I know that you've mentioned it before on how can we connect with you, and you mentioned earlier, you didn't say it, but you said that you're not an author yet. It's not published. So tell us just a little bit about where that is leading
So I have a book.
you.
It's in the process of the final stage of the Meta Step model,
Yes.
and the Meta Step model that I developed based on my experience of working with hundreds and hundreds of people, and of course my own experience, because um, we start this podcast actually with the question that why do people hurt the ones they love? Why do they do what they do? And so the book is all about that. It's about the psychology and the science behind it, and also it has those who of faith and the faith based. It explain the connection between that as well, and so it allows you to see the everyday relationships, including a little bit of my story and exactly what happens between conversations and how that conversations can either be led to a beautiful, strengthened, stronger relationship and closeness, or it can become a disaster that separate people, sadly. And so this book is about people to understand what's really happened beneath the surface level small problems, why they become the death of your relationship, if you like, and how to prevent it. And there are step by step guides, and it has workshops, workbooks, and it's a kind of a like a course in a book.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Can't wait till it comes out. I can't wait. Everyone, thank you for joining us today and for staying. Indrani's story invites us to look beyond what is visible and become curious about the hidden patterns influencing how we think, love, lead, communicate, and how we heal. Sometimes we pray for our circumstances to change while God is lovingly changing our focus, renewing our minds, and preparing us to respond in a new way. Awareness is not condemnation, it is an invitation. Gratitude is not denial, it is a decision to recognize God's presence and possibility even while the story is continuing to unfold. You do not have to remain trapped in the same cycle. With faith, wise support, courageous action, and a willingness to see clearly, transformation is possible. Thank you, Indrani, for being here, for sharing with us. And everyone, thank you for Keep walking in courage. Keep walking in purpose, in gratitude and awareness. And most of all, keep walking in aloha. Ahui ho, everyone, and God bless.